Hi, I'm Paulette Mitchell. I frequently offer lectures on Viking ships, but today I'm speaking to you on Viking.TV from my home in Minnesota. I welcome you to Customs and Cuisines of the World. You'll notice this is part one. Perhaps at a later time I will offer part two, which covers other destinations. As the author of 14 cookbooks, I've received some fascinating freelance assignments. One of my favorites was to produce a series of travel-related videos featuring food markets around the world. The photos you will see today are some of my still shots taken in these destinations. Time permits discussing only a small number of the wide range of possibilities. Many of these countries are world cruise destinations. I've selected some that are the most distinctive or curiosity arousing. Maybe you have visited some of these countries and perhaps even some of the food markets. I hope that this presentation will also inspire some future travel and adventures. To begin with definitions, customs are what lots of people do and have done for a long time. If something is usually done in the same way, you would say that it is the customary way of doing things. For example, women wear saris in India. Having birds as pets is customary in Hong Kong. Hanging laundry out to dry is a custom in many places that we visit. Cuisines refers to foods cooked in a certain way, and of course, regional cuisines vary upon the availability of ingredients. For example, feta cheese is found in 31% of Greek recipes. Saffron is found in 11% of the dishes in Spain and Portugal. Saffron is an essential ingredient in paella. It's also an important flavoring in Italy and India, where it is used in entirely different recipes, representative of the distinctive cuisines in those countries. Chilies are one of the most distinctive ingredients in Vietnam. In this Customs and Cuisines talk, I will show you food markets in cruise ports where you can see many typical fresh foods. We can be certain that food is a universal language. No matter where people live or their social status, they appreciate food. Not only does food provide common ground, but I also think it's the best introduction to a foreign culture. And of course, many customs are tied to food. Markets are a food lover's fantasy. As visitors, we enjoy them more for the spectacle than for the shopping. There are the sounds, sometimes quiet and sophisticated, like this market in Florence, Italy. Other markets, like this one in Mumbai, are more frenzied. And some markets are very simple. There are the aromas, freshly sliced melons you can smell from across the street, or fish stacked in the sun on a 100-degree day. There is the tactile. Some merchants post signs such as "Ne pas toucher." Italian vendors might want to touch you. There are the flavors, perhaps familiar strawberries, or something unfamiliar like dragon fruit. There are the sights. Sometimes you're reminded of a painter's still life. Maybe fish being beheaded with a violent whack of a blade, or a merchant lovingly wrapping a simple block of aged cheese 3 times before handing it over to a discriminating customer. Best of all are the people and learning about their cultures. Most welcome us to their markets. Some are jovial. Others are solemn. Most sell their products with pride, even when the setting is simple. Often several generations are together selling, eating, napping, and experiencing life at their produce stand. The crowd is made up of all strands that make up the urban community. They come to the market not just to shop, but also to mingle with family and friends, and often to snack or eat a meal at market-side food stalls. We are the visitors and voyeurs, but the real shoppers in the market are choosing what to feed their families for dinner, and they're interacting with one another in the process. These interactions also give us many indications about the culture. We get a sense as to whether the people are quiet or not, and we can view behaviors such as whether they haggle or adhere to set prices. In my opinion, the local market is definitely the best place to begin a tour of any city. You'll get a feel for the culture far more than in markets that are created for tourists. So let's begin in Tahiti, the largest of the French Polynesian islands. This island is known for its colorful lagoons. They are incredibly beautiful, both day and night. I hope you've experienced French Polynesia. If you take a drive around the island, you'll see not only beautiful shorelines, but also humble roadside food stands selling vegetables, fruits, and fish. One interesting destination is Papeete, the municipal market, or the marché as locals call it, which is walking distance from the port. As you enter the spacious building, you pass brilliant displays of tropical flowers, perhaps some that you have not seen before. Vendors also sell fresh flower crowns called tiara Tahiti, which are worn by the locals. This traditional ceremonial headdress is seen at performances, in the markets, and even on the streets. In fact, the apparel of many older women still resembles what is worn in Gauguin paintings. The headbands for men are made up of palm fronds. For men, body piercing and tattoos are also an important part of the Polynesian culture. Tattoos in Hawaii may be fashionable as works of art. However, in Tahiti, Samoa, and other Polynesian islands, the tattoos are often part of an important custom, the transition from childhood to adulthood. Some have religious and spiritual significance and are believed to offer protection. Others depict a person's social status, occupation, island of origin, tribe, and achievements. The men's necklaces are made from bone spikes and boar's tusks, which are sometimes ornately carved. These are from wild pigs that live in the mountains and are hunted for food. Another notable element when speaking of clothing in Samoa and other parts of Polynesia is the third gender, which is a recognized and accepted identity in these cultures. They are not discriminated against and freely act as women in public. These are people who are born biologically male, but take on female behavior, including the way they dress. These people are called fa'afafine. You may have seen them on the streets in Polynesia fitting this description, especially in Papeete. Now back to the market. The seafood area is especially colorful with reef fish, such as these parrotfish. As you'd expect, there are many tropical fruits, some in different varieties than we see at home, such as large red bananas, small, sweet, and juicy pineapples, and breadfruit. Taro root is the staple starch of Polynesian cuisine. The root is boiled or baked like a potato, and the leaves are also eaten like spinach. Most of us know ginger as a dry-looking brown rhizome. Spring ginger, as you see here, is younger ginger. Rather than being tough and fibrous, it is juicy and plump with a pink blush. The thin skin of this ginger needs no peeling, and the flavor is milder than mature ginger, which has a hotter, spicier flavor. Another popular flavoring is chilies, which are available fresh, dried, and sold in discarded bottles. Please note that it is not advised to buy these homemade hot sauces in markets. Instead, if you want to take bottled chilies home, buy hot sauces that are commercially prepared. Leaves are used for wrapping rice and meat mixtures. These are taken home to be steamed, sort of like fast food Polynesian style. In Tonga markets, large baskets are freshly woven daily from palm fronds and leaves. You may have seen these baskets in open-air tropical markets. They are filled with shellfish, coconuts, and root vegetables. These are the mainstays of the Pacific Island diet. This giant tuber is manioc, which is often referred to as cassava. This vegetable is more dense than a potato, and it requires thorough cooking. Cassava is a starchy staple in many tropical parts of the world, including Tonga. The yams, which you see in the background and foreground of this shot, grow to be large. They are boiled, baked, fried, and barbecued. Soursop, which has a sour citrus flavor, is described as a combination of strawberry and pineapple. It's served as a dessert. Screw pine is native to Madagascar, Mauritius, and the Seychelles. There are 500 species. The naturally water-resistant leaves of the plant are used to make some of the baskets you saw earlier, also ropes and even thatched roofs for homes. Vanilla beans, which come from a plant in the orchid family, are giant in Tonga. Because growing and drying these pods is labor-intensive, vanilla is considered to be the second most expensive spice in the world, after saffron. In the open markets in Tonga, large bunches of vanilla beans are fresh and aromatic. and for most of us, less expensive than they are at home. At tropical markets, you often see women making necklaces from local shells and seeds. At the time of my visit to Tonga in 2006, the villagers were wearing grass skirts as a customary mourning outfit to honor one of their rulers who had died. These grass skirts are worn to show respect, and an embellished version is worn for weddings. Arriving in Sydney is one of the most beautiful sailings in the world, as you may well know. Aside from the amazing tourist sites, I hope that some of you have found your way to the Sydney Fish Market, which is the largest of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. Approximately 50 tons of fresh seafood is auctioned each day, and over 100 species are available to the buyers. This is more than any other fish market in the world. There's also a large area for the public to shop. There's a wide variety of seafood, and the displays are incredibly beautiful. If you're a seafood lover, I recommend staying at the market for a reasonably priced and incredibly tasty fresh meal. Australian produce markets, such as this one in Cairns, offers a wide variety of fruits and vegetables. Many are Asian, such as these fresh bamboo shoots. Many of us purchase bamboo shoots only in tins. This is a vegetable called kangkong, which is semi-aquatic tropical plant, also called Chinese freshwater spinach. Tapioca leaves, the same as cassava leaves, are also consumed like cooked spinach. Bitter melon looks like a bumpy cucumber. Chayote in Australia is known as choco. This squash is used in curries and stir fries. A compatible seasoning is Thai basil. The leaves are a little tougher than Italian sweet basil, and Thai basil has a spicy licorice-like flavor. Now a stop in Indonesia. Rice is undoubtedly one of humanity's most important foods. In fact, on this planet, every day more rice is consumed than any other food. Indonesians eat rice-based meals 3 times a day. In Indonesia, there is no particular season for growing rice. Every stage from preparing the fields and planting through to harvesting and beyond can happen at any time. The size and shape of the rice fields is not restricted. Some are as small as a double bed. Others extend as far as the eye can see. To begin, seedlings are planted in the muddy rice fields. An official Indonesian council controls and maintains these irrigation channels and waterways, where there is also other life. Dragonflies glide over the fields. Some are captured and are fried for a tasty treat. Lizards and tadpoles also make their appearances. And catfish may swim in the rice fields until they are big enough to be cooked in a wok. The biggest challenge is keeping greedy birds at bay, and cleverly crafted scarecrows are present in many rice fields. Frightening birds away is also the purpose of plastic bags blowing in the wind. It takes about 3 months for rice to reach maturity. Each of these rice clusters is called a panicle. After harvest, the fields are left to dry completely. They are plowed under and then flooded, and then the whole process begins again. It's especially picturesque to see the terraced rice fields in some parts of Bali, such as the area surrounding Ubud. I hope that you may have had an opportunity to see these terraced fields, which are incredibly beautiful. Like rice, noodles come from China and are now also an important part of the Indonesian cuisine. Some noodles are made from rice. Others, like these, are made from wheat, and noodle soup is a very popular snack. Indonesia is surrounded by water, and a dietary staple is fish of many varieties. Chicken is another common protein. In tropical villages, you may see these overturned baskets, which serve as chicken coops for the roosters. Unlike most of Indonesia, where about 84% of the population is Muslim, Bali is predominantly Hindu. In contrast to the Hindu religion in India, many Balinese Hindus eat seafood and pork too. Also, as a matter of fact, reverence is not paid to cows in Bali, and all of this, of course, affects the foods that are consumed. You'll notice large, loosely woven baskets of top trucks. At first, you may wonder about the contents, but sometimes it's very clear. These pigs are a unique breed that is a descendant of the wild hog. Those you see top trucks weigh 350 to 550 pounds and are on their way to market. Roast suckling pig is a ceremonial food served with rice. It's also available at food stalls. These little pigs are stuffed with chilies, garlic, and ginger, and the skin is rubbed with turmeric to add color. The primary seasoning in Indonesia is sambal, which is usually homemade. It's a hot sauce or relish using chilies, garlic, shallots, salt, and fresh lime juice or vinegar. There are many types of chilies in the market, and also large baskets of shallots. A common sight on the roads in Bali is coconut palm and bamboo leaves being efficiently transported by motorcycle. These plant materials are often formed into baskets. In fact, baskets of many varieties are very important to everyday life in Bali. Most are for practical use. Some are beautiful works of art which take months to create. The colorful covered temple baskets are very special and represent an important custom. The baskets are called kebun, and they are both hand-woven and artfully hand-painted. This woman, like many, is en route to the temple with her covered basket filled with offerings of food, such as rice cakes and fruit, and also flowers. Notice that the women wear a sarong, which is required to enter the temples. As guests, both men and women are asked to also wear the customary sarong and sash in order to enter a temple. These items are available at most temples, but it's a good idea to bring your own sarong. In respect for the culture, I also added a long sleeve shirt to this outfit to cover my arms before entering the temple. It's always a good idea to bring along an arm covering if you plan to visit temples. As I mentioned, the people of Bali are primarily Hindu. Not only their diets, but also their practices and beliefs differ from India. Most importantly, they are deeply spiritual with strong components of spirits and ancestor worship. Walk down any street in Bali and you will see the custom of Canang Sari. The word Canang literally means beautiful purpose, and it is believed that this spiritual practice will avert catastrophe. Other goals are to ward off demons, attract prosperity, ensure good health, and to honor ancestors. Canang Sari refers to the small woven baskets made from cut palms or banana leaves that are then filled with flowers and sometimes food, such as rice, fruit, or cookies, and sometimes money. The daily ritual begins in the early morning hours when buckets of water are used to scrub sidewalks and doorways. Once clean, the city is now ready for the daily gift of offerings meant to appease and please the various gods and demons of the Balinese Hinduism. You'll see these baskets, sometimes square and others in this more ornamental shape, in temples, at the entrances to homes and shops, on sidewalks, on streets, and even in cars. They are also placed at possible conflict points, such as crossroads or bridges. Women, not men, make the baskets and prepare the offerings. Often several generations of a family sit together making these objects, which are intricately held together with small round sticks, about the size of toothpicks. The components for making the baskets can be purchased at street-side stands. However, many modern Balinese women now have jobs and do not have the time to make the daily baskets. Instead, they buy them ready-made in markets. These handcrafted containers are accompanied by an assortment of gifts for the gods. Nothing is random, and there is a special meaning for each of the items. The flowers are even placed in specific directions. For example, blue or green flowers are positioned pointing to the north as a symbol of Vishnu, the preserver and protector of the universe. White lime and red betel nut represent other Hindu gods. Certain flowers symbolize sincerity and love. The contents of the baskets are sprinkled with holy spring water and then are topped with a single smoldering stick of incense, which they believe brings the essence of an offering to heaven. In homes, these baskets are placed in strategic locations, such as on top of a well, in the kitchen, and in the bedroom. The placement is always important. For example, demons and ogres are believed to reside in the sea, so offerings placed low are for these spirits. In Bali, because the baskets are often on the ground, it's important to watch where you are walking. Good spirits reside in the mountains, and offerings are placed high for them. It is believed that not only by honoring both the higher and lower spirits can negativity be balanced with positivity, ensuring harmony in life. The offerings are not based on fear, but rather for gratitude on the richness of life. Making and displaying the offerings is both a duty and an honor. Once the incense goes out, the offering returns to being an earthly object. Sometimes, if the basket is placed on the street or in a shop, the food is taken back home to be eaten by the family. The food offerings also become snacks for animals, such as the macaque monkeys. At the end of the day, the remaining little baskets are swept up to be replaced the next day. As you may have learned, Malaysia is a multicultural country. 61% of the population practices Islam. The next most common religion is Buddhism, practiced by 20% of the population. Outside the markets and alongside the stands, you may see many small Buddhist shrines, which are often to honor ancestors. Here too, everything has symbolism. For example, Buddha carried a fan. Monks carry them too and may hide their faces with fans when officiating at ceremonies. So for many, it is a custom to display a fan. In the markets, you may come upon monks. The belief is that the monks have a responsibility to support the community spiritually, and lay people have a responsibility to support the monks physically. For this reason, monks still rely on receiving alms for much of their food. The practice is not thought of as charity, but rather as making a spiritual connection. A typical Malaysian market is a one-stop shop. Lining the perimeter, you may find clothes, shoes, and necessities like mops, pots, and pans. Some shops are small, humble mini supermarkets. There are also market stands that specialize in vegetables and fruits, which are consumed for their good flavor as well as for their health benefits. This purplish brown fruit is mangosteen. This fruit is traditional medicine for treating dysentery, urinary infections, and gastrointestinal problems. So in Malaysia, food is medicine. Dragon fruit is also known as pitaya. It is believed to boost the immune system and to improve eyesight and memory. Rambutan is native to the Malay-Indonesian region. The name is derived from the Malay word meaning hairy, and you can see why. The fruit beneath the hairy exterior is white or pale pink with a sweet, mildly acidic flavor, much like a grape. The vegetables in Malaysia look fresh and unblemished. Some are not indigenous though, such as the Australian vine-ripened tomatoes. Locals buy chestnuts to take home, and they are a popular snack. In fact, while walking through markets, you may notice the aroma of coffee and sweet chestnuts. Follow your nose and you will find street vendors cooking the chestnuts with coffee beans in huge woks. This bean, called the stink bean or bitter bean, grows hanging from a large tree, and it is widely consumed in southern Southeast Asia. The large twisted pods hang in just about every Malaysian market. For cooking, the beans are removed from the tough pods, and they are commonly stir-fried in curry paste and shrimp paste with garlic and chilies. Most people in Malaysia eat 3 meals a day, and rice is almost always included. It pairs well with the spicy Malaysian dishes, which make use of fresh or dried chilies. Lemongrass, the green stalks surrounding the basket in this photo, impart a citrus aroma to curries, soups, and tea. The outer layers of the stalks are discarded and the inner portion is thinly sliced or simply bruised. The flavor then comes through as the dish simmers. Now moving on to the Philippines. If you have visited Manila, you probably have noticed there is street food just about everywhere you look. Most meats are often cooked on skewers. This man is selling roasted corn on the cob. Here a pineapple is being carved into a decorative shape. There are also many street vendors selling vegetables, fruit, and seafood. The food markets and outdoor stands operate rain or shine. I learned from locals this day that the heavy rain brought the warning of severe storms. According to a Time magazine story, the Philippines is the most exposed country in the world to tropical storms. Approximately 20 tropical cyclones enter the Philippines yearly. 10 of these become typhoons, with 5 being destructive. It's all part of life, and the markets do not close, even during these torrential downpours. As it turned out, these photos were taken 2 days before Typhoon Haiyan, which became the strongest landfalling tropical cyclone ever recorded. To reach the markets, motorized tricycles are used for short hops around town, and some take push tricycles or pedicabs. These little vehicles are cheap and non-polluting. Another unique form of transportation in Manila is the jeepneys. These are the minibuses based on the chassis of U.S. Army Jeeps left over in the Philippines after World War II. Some residents are making moves to reduce pollution by replacing them with cleaner vehicles such as electric buses, but at this time you will see many jeepneys on the streets. The Divisoria market is huge and chaotic, and actually not recommended as a tourist destination because it's crowded and comes with warnings about pickpockets and personal safety. Yet it's a place where many locals shop for just about everything. This is turmeric root. It is used to make turmeric powder, which is a common ingredient in Indian cuisine. Here in the Philippines, fresh turmeric rhizomes are used in many dishes. These are banana flowers, which are sliced and used as a vegetable, mostly in salads. Here you see the method used to shred coconut in the Philippines. The meat is removed by pressing coconut halves against moving blades in this simple machine. Fresh coconut shreds are used in Filipino dishes, such as a topping for sweet rice cakes, or the coconut may be dehydrated. Also, the shreds are squeezed to make coconut milk. Several types of eggs are found in Manila markets. There are chicken eggs and larger duck eggs. These small brown speckled eggs are quail eggs. The red-colored eggs available in all food markets are Filipino salted eggs. Fresh duck eggs are packed in clay from anthillis or termite mounds that is mixed with sea salt and water. The eggs are then stored in wooden boxes for about 2 weeks. After curing, the eggs are cleaned, boiled, and dyed red to distinguish them from fresh eggs. The preserved eggs are then peeled, chopped, and mixed with fresh tomato and onion and eaten with rice. Sometimes they are added to noodle and seafood dishes too. Now Hong Kong, which may be the most superstitious city on earth. Numbers, colors, flowers, and many other items have a certain reputation for good or ill. Birds are believed to bring good luck, and that is the reason that the bird market is important to many, especially to the men. They may spend hours selecting the perfect bird, which will be valued not only for its beauty, but also for its song. Viewing the scene at the bird market is one of many ways to recognize how important freshness is to the Chinese. Even the caged pet birds are fed live worms and crickets. Because freshness is a priority for the Chinese, housewives who do not have jobs outside the home may shop for food 2 times daily. In Hong Kong, you see many busy street markets that look like this. In the seafood area of the food markets, nearly everything is alive. There is an endless variety of swimming fish. Most Chinese like to cook them whole, so sadly the scales may be removed while the fish are still alive. The chickens too are squawking in their coops. Freshness is so important that locals have told me they can tell if seafood and poultry were alive until just before cooking. Many vegetables also are sold with the roots attached. To the Chinese, this means they are very fresh because they are still alive. You may wonder how the roots are so clean. This is because many of these vegetables are hydroponically grown. According to food researchers, most dumplings trace their origins to China and the silk trade route. Now dumplings are associated with southern China, including Shanghai. Stir-fried dumplings are cooked in giant woks, and the exteriors are lightly browned. Other dumplings are steamed. The filled dough is formed into decorative shapes, which are cooked in bamboo steaming baskets. I definitely recommend trying the delicious dumplings if you visit Shanghai. There are many varieties of steamed dumplings, and often steaming baskets are also used for serving. These soup dumplings are filled with a meatball, traditionally made from pork, and the tasty broth is sipped with a straw. This may look familiar if you have been to Vietnam. On the side streets of Ho Chi Minh City, there are many vendors selling goods of all types. Vehicles for these street-side shops include motorcycles, bicycles, and carts. Some vendors sell ready-to-eat fruits. Gia Thai is a traditional Vietnamese fruit cocktail dessert made from tropical fruits such as jackfruit, lychee, and longan, which is mixed with coconut gel and coconut milk. Some, mostly women, still sell from yokes across their shoulders. However, each time I visit this city, I find there are fewer of these traditional street vendors. Also, there are fewer residents in traditional clothing. Now many wear the Western style. Some of the humble vendors sell fresh coconut water. This beverage is safe to drink, providing you have a clean straw. After quenching your thirst, you can enjoy a snack by scooping out some of the coconut meat. And as a buying tip, be aware that the smaller coconuts are sweeter than large ones. Some Vietnamese street vendors sell substantial food, for example, bun bao. Borrowed from the Chinese, these ball-shaped buns contain pork or chicken with onions, mushrooms, and other vegetables, and there may even be a boiled egg inside. French baguettes came to Vietnam with French colonialism. Most French who came to Vietnam weren't interested in baking, so it was the Chinese and Vietnamese who worked in the boulangeries. Baguettes were sold on the street to Vietnamese people on their way to work. Sometimes the French recipes were adapted to be made with rice flour. In the years that followed, meat, vegetables, or fish appeared on the bread, and this developed into the baguette sandwiches called banh mi. Delicious fillings may be meatballs, fish cakes, pork belly, along with pickled carrots, daikon radish, and hot chilies. These sandwiches are still an important part of the street food scene in Ho Chi Minh City. Other street vendors, like this woman who is practically carrying a kitchen on her shoulders, offers pho, a Vietnamese soup made thick with noodles, bits of beef, and spring onions. This traditional dish is flavored with fish sauce, fresh lime juice, and chilies. It's usually garnished with fresh bean sprouts and fresh cilantro. And you will also find it on the menu of many Vietnamese restaurants. The heart of life in Ho Chi Minh City is the Ben Ton food market. There are areas for buying everything under the sun, including some unusual items such as scorpion wine, which is promised to cure ailments from night blindness to impotence. The overwhelming aroma upon entering this market, or any market in Vietnam for that matter, is fish sauce. It's made from fermented anchovies and is the primary flavor in Vietnamese cuisine. There's also a lot of dried fish, which is added to rice dishes and soups. Coffee is another of the leftovers from the French colonial period. If you order Vietnamese coffee, it will be strong drip coffee combined with sweetened condensed milk. One especially unique coffee found in Vietnam is weasel or civet coffee. This refers to ripe coffee beans that have been eaten and then excreted by the Asian palm civet. Producers of the beans believe that the animal's digestion improves the flavor profile of the coffee beans because they come out partially fermented. The excreted beans are well cleaned, further fermented, sun-dried, and roasted, so the coffee is safe to drink. Some say it's a gimmick. Others believe that the coffee tastes especially good and is worth the higher price. Incidentally, civet coffee is also sold in Bali, where it is called coffee luwak. Civet coffee can actually be purchased online. I've noticed even Dean and DeLuca in New York City has offered this coffee in a Christmas catalog as the rarest, most unique, and highly coveted coffee in the world. A relatively small tin was priced at $70. The Central Market in Nha Trang is also very distinctive of Vietnamese markets. Many vendors, mostly women, sell beautiful tropical fruits. These green fruits are actually an orange. Do you know that the color of an orange depends on where it's grown? In countries where it is always hot, the chlorophyll is preserved and the fruit's exterior stays green rather than turning orange. Fresh Vietnamese flavorings include chilies, shallots, and many types of small onions. Agile vendors sit cross-legged on their counters chopping meat. In Vietnam, also, a meal is not complete without rice, and many varieties of rice are found in the markets. Here in Vietnam, rice is also enjoyed in several other forms. Fresh rice noodles are sold from large, leaf-lined baskets. There are many rice noodle stands in Vietnamese markets. You'll also see stacks of rice paper. The ingredients are rice flour, tapioca flour, salt, and water. Most of these sheets are now commercially made, but some rice paper is made by hand and is dried in the hot sun. At street stands, you see rice paper being used to make fresh spring rolls, with fresh rice noodles and fresh vegetables as the filling. Each fresh spring roll is meticulously formed by hand. Locals and vendors enjoy street food lunches too, where they are usually seated at low sidewalk tables with small plastic stools. Pre-made banana leaf wrap bundles of food are ready to take home to steam for dinner. Many contain glutinous rice tightly packed with pork and mung beans. And then, after a morning in the hot sun, many street vendors take a nap at their market stands. It seems that there are nappers everywhere, surrounded by tropical fruit and vegetables. The conical hat worn by the Vietnamese is called a non la, which means leaf hat. It's one of the most visible symbols of Vietnam. Now maybe it's time to stop at a restaurant for lunch. Lettuce cups are typical. You'll be served beautiful fresh ingredients for adding to lettuce leaf packets that you make yourself at the table. You'll get fresh bean sprouts, cucumbers, star fruit, and of course rice noodles. The item you see on the left is sugarcane skewers. Sugarcane adds a hint of sweetness to the chicken or shrimp wrapped around it. The meat is cut off the sugarcane to be added to the lettuce roll. Lettuce cups and other Vietnamese dishes are traditionally served with a dipping sauce called nuoc cham. This is found in every Vietnamese kitchen and on the table in all Vietnamese restaurants. The liquid ingredients are fresh lime juice and fish sauce with the addition of chilies, garlic, and sugar. Asian cuisines take into account 5 balanced flavors, including sweet, sour, salty, spicy, and bitter. This sauce includes all but bitter, which would be offered by the accompanying foods. Locals in Sihanoukville, Cambodia shop at the upper market located on dusty roads at the edge of town. Most of the goods arrive in hand-woven baskets that are mounted to noisy motorcycles that you see and hear everywhere. It is customary for entire families to arrive on one motorcycle too, and oddly, it is only the driver who wears a helmet. The market is a place to fill many basic needs, maybe a haircut. Like most Asian markets, there is an area also for household goods, and many kitchen utensils are handcrafted from locally available materials. This is called a soft fan broom. It's common to see mobile vendors in Cambodia with bicycles. Others are on the move all day selling humble meals from the containers that extend from poles on their shoulders. This man is cooking Cambodian rice cakes. They are made with rice, rice flour, coconut milk, and coconut powder, and they are cooked in this special pan. These steamed buns are filled with pork, sometimes with the addition of a quail egg. And like much of Asia, the Cambodian breakfast is usually a bowl of broth filled with noodles and beef and flavored with lime and fresh herbs. Bananas are an especially popular snack. Sometimes they are flattened, dipped into a sweet batter with black sesame seeds, and then deep fried. Here they are being cooked on the street on skewers. Speaking of bananas, they are considered to be the national fruit of Cambodia by royal decree. Bananas grow plentifully and are a staple dietary item in Cambodia, where they are believed to promote health. Many think that their babies become more intelligent and that the elderly maintain their memories with the help of potassium in bananas. These are the Cavendish bananas that are most common in the United States, but in Cambodia there are also many other varieties, including ladyfinger bananas, a type that is small and sweet with a creamy texture. Other produce is displayed in baskets and set atop plastic bins. In particular, there are many tropical fruits. These are longans, which are eaten raw and fresh, and is also used in desserts. Bell-shaped wax apples resemble familiar apples in color. However, the flavor and aroma differ, and the texture is more like a juicy watermelon. Peanut oil is commonly used for cooking in Cambodia, so be sure to keep this in mind if you want to try Cambodian food but have a peanut allergy. Many women sell peanuts from flat baskets atop their heads. Often the peanuts are roasted and ground and are then combined with coconut milk, lime juice, fish sauce, garlic, and chilies. This peanut sauce is the traditional Cambodian dipping sauce, which is served with many dishes. Perhaps you've enjoyed it with chicken satay. 95% of the population in Cambodia is Buddhist, which is the official religion. So like other Asian markets, there is a custom of many little shrines. Incense is burned to symbolize pure moral conduct, and the offering of water, here in the small gold containers, symbolizes purity, clarity, and calmness. You'll also see money Buddhas at many market stands where they are believed to bring good luck and wealth, and as usual, there are offerings of food and water. This concludes Customs and Cuisines of the World Part 1. I hope I may have inspired some future travels, or perhaps even a visit to an ethnic restaurant or a market right where you live. Julia Child once said, "People who love to eat are always the best people." I will add to that, people who love to travel. So bye for now. I hope to see you on a future Viking cruise.